Welcome to CultureVille, a talk show that shines light on urban culture in Middle Tennessee. This week on CultureVille, we have the creators and the cast of the Sit-in Mixtape. The Sit-in Mixtape is a fictionalized version of the protests in Nashville at the lunch counters in the 1960s. Today we're going to talk to AL-D and myself, one of the creators, and later we have some of the cast members from the play that are going to sit down and talk to us. You're watching CultureVille. So the Sit-in Mixtape was written and produced by myself and AL-D. And if you don't know AL-D, I don't know where you've been in life. He is an MC, he's a promoter, he is a DJ, and I know we worked on this play for many years when you include COVID, but kind of explain what was the original concept or how did the idea come about?
So this was an idea that was originally brought to me by the sponsor, which is Nashville Fringe Festival. So check out NashvilleFringeFestival.org. Jan Bossing of Nashville Fringe Festival had this idea to do a theatrical hip hop performance telling the story of these specific events. So it was sort of like a 5-bullet point outline she brought to me, which was to start with the workshops that James Lawson was teaching. It's largely based on a book called The Children by David Halberstam. So I read that book, took a lot of notes, and sort of got a more fleshed out outline that, of course, I brought to you, and we sort of sat down and watched a lot of documentaries and did a lot of research online, and we went to the Civil Rights Room at the library and just really started writing it as rhymes there.
Was Jan's original idea to have the hip hop lyrics though?
I think so. She referred to it as a hip opera when she first brought this up to me, and so we discussed it at various times, and I'm not sure if her original vision was that there would have been dialogue in between the songs or not, and there's very little of that, as you know, but it's pretty much just in rhyme.
There. You sampled in some of the original audio from that time period, especially with the courthouse scene, and you produced the instrumentals on that. What were some of your inspirations? And you did use local artists, so tell us about that.
Yeah, and so I've never, as a hip hop producer, I use a lot of samples as most hip hop producers do, but this was the first time I actually got permission from all the bands to use the samples, so it's legit like that, and all the bands are like local Middle Tennessee bands, or at least have some connection to Middle Tennessee.
Oh, okay. And we got to shout out DJ Vamp, we got to shout out the Quiet Entertainer.
Yeah, and DJ Ray did some cuts as well. Cuts on it. Vamp did the ones all through the courthouse scene. Greg did the Quiet Entertainer did a bunch throughout, and the scratching. Well, in the courthouse scene, we're using some sounds from a reenactment of the actual trial. So
the movement, or the sit-in movement of that time period, had a lot of well-known people involved, like we all know John Lewis. But why did you decide to focus on these particular 5 students?
That's a great question. So like I said, it's based largely on a book called The Children. So that book centers or follows the lives of, I think it's 8 or 9 of them. We wanted to have one from each of the HBCUs
Yeah,
in the
we did.
area. So Diane Nash went to Fisk, Gloria Johnson went to Meharry, Curtis Murphy went to Tennessee A&I, which is now TSU, and the other two went to American Baptist. That's Bernard Lafayette and Jim Bevel. So for my part, I just wanted to sort of focus on some of the less well-known names. Right. Diane Nash was always going to be the starring role, because that's, you know, if you look at the poster here, you know, this confrontation on the courthouse steps was sort of under her leadership, and James Lawson and C.T. Vivian were already leaders in the area before this.
I think for me, when we were coming up with the concept, I felt like focusing on these particular five, we kind of gave everyone a little piece, because they're so different in character. Like Gloria was not very religious. So I think that was one of the things that stood out to me when we decided which was really difficult.
Yeah, it was, and there was times I remember when we were writing it, and was like, well, I want to say this. Like, who would say that, though? And we even switched out who was in it at times, because we just wanted something to be said. And it was like, well, that doesn't make sense, because this person wouldn't say that, so we got to put this person in to say that. And,
right.
That's just...
And then that brings us to, we did a lot of research, because it was important to both of us to have facts. You know, we wanted everyone to have bars and to really bring the hip-hop element, but we were trying to stay historically correct. How difficult was that for you?
It was kind of more like it was overwhelming to take such a huge amount of information and reduce it to such a smaller thing, just to sort of get that story all reduced to something that we were trying to do in this format.
I know we kept going back and forth and checking, like, okay, did we mention that? Did we say that?
Yeah, there was definitely certain things that had to be
in there.
That had to be.
So for me, this was the first time that I had ghostwritten or like written lyrics for other people. And I don't know if what was that experience like?
That was the first for me, and of course I'm only an extra in it, so we should recognize everyone in the cast made some kind of contributions, and some of the former cast members that weren't available anymore after the pandemic. That was the most interesting thing about it to me, was that in the end, when you listen to the recordings, it sounds like that person. It doesn't sound like me or you, like whose ever part it is. Like it comes out sounding like them. It's sort of interesting.
I think I had a moment when we had everyone had came in and did their recordings, and we were sitting down just listening to it. Everyone brought it the way, not maybe like exactly the way we were thinking it when we wrote the lyrics, but they brought what we were trying to say.
Yeah, I mean the rhymes and the words were there, but the cadence and the it comes out like with a certain style, and they never end up saying it exactly the way I was saying it in my head or you were saying it in your head. I've never written anything collaboratively with someone else the way we did. Right. It's like all of it is, I mean, it's kind of like I wrote this person's part and you wrote that person's part.
Yeah, we started off like trying to sign it, but
we were stepping all over each other's stuff the whole time, and like everything was up for debate. To me, watching the first cut of it, I just was like, whoa, like this is like, because it's just to see it like the way everyone else is going to see it for the first time, and be like, wow, we really did.
We did that.
We really did tell that story. That's cool.
That brings me to one of my questions. We started off with this going to be a live play, and we sort of diversed into the video. Is there still an idea to do it live?
I think so. That was the original idea brought to me, was for it to be a theatrical live performance.
I learned so much about that time period. So what is something why do you think this story is important, and what do you want the audience to take away from it?
Well, I think it's important for the city, because I learned a lot. I didn't know much. I knew that the early lunch counter sit-ins, that Nashville had been one of the first, and I think that's a cool thing about the city, and I think that's a cool thing about the city that everybody should be aware of, that's lives here and is from here. And I didn't really know the specific names of the people before getting into this. I sort of knew that this had happened, but I think it's also, like, one of the things I learned is that this march that we show, that's part of our story, I've heard it said it was the first mass march of the civil rights movement, and I don't think a lot of people know that. So I think it's cool for people to kind of see and understand that, you know, no one had ever done anything like this before.
I feel the same way. I think that I want people to know the impact that Nashville had, because I didn't know that. We all know about the sit-ins. We knew about North Carolina. I knew that it occurred at the Woolworth and that, but I didn't understand the dynamic and the part that Nashville played in the segregation movement itself, because all of these students that we talk about went on to do great things. Well, thank you so much, AL-D.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you so much for all your help.
So,
this has been amazing working
when we
with
come
you.
back, we have the cast members here.
Yeah.
They're going to talk about how it was for them.
Right.
Because, you know, for us, it's like our baby, you know. But for to see what it was like for them to play these characters and to really get involved. And I just want to thank you, because this is a great project to work on. So we're back, and we just talked to AL-D, one of the creators and the writers of the Sit-in Mixtape, along with myself. But now I am so excited. We have the cast who plays these remarkable characters on film for us. So I'm gonna have you guys just go across and then say your name and the character that you play in the play.
Malcolm DeWayne, I play Curtis Murphy.
I'm E.T. and I play Mayor Ben West.
I'm RacqMusic and I play Gloria Johnson.
I'm Train Spitta and I play Jim Bevel.
And I'm Greg Freeman, Quiet Entertainer, and I play C.T. Vivian.
So how many of you are like from Nashville, this area, or grew up here?
I grew up here.
You grew up here?
Yeah.
But okay, let me ask this. How many of you knew the impact that Nashville had on the sit-in movements before you worked on this project?
I knew a little bit, but I didn't know as much until I started working on this project.
Is it something that, you know, because for me, I knew about the lunch counter sit-in that happened here, but I had no idea that so many people were involved. All the different schools were involved. Did you learn something you didn't know?
Yeah, it was really dope, actually. You know, when y'all told us about it to do like the research, I went to the Nashville Library and went to the Civil Rights Room and watched the video. And yeah, it was really dope learning about it. I don't know why we don't know more about it, like learning about it in schools and stuff, but you know.
Yeah, like I felt like if you Nashvilleian, that should be part.
That should be definitely.
There were a lot of people who didn't hear it.
I'm from Memphis, and so Memphis has its own role
in history, exactly.
Yeah, so when I moved here 18 years ago, and so it was cool to get to learn this part of the state.
I'm also from here, and it was like, it was very interesting being taught, you know, this part of it. And yeah, I feel like Nashville's contributions are, at least as far as I can remember growing up, they were, a lot of it was kind of, I don't want to say overshadowed, but you know, we had so much going on across the South. It was like, it almost seemed as if in teaching the role of our contributions, it was like an episode compared to what was happening in Selma, Mississippi, North Carolina, and other places across the South.
And AL-D chose who we wanted to write the story about, but did you find a connection with your character?
Yeah, I felt a strong connection with Curtis. Curtis Murphy being, you know, he was a native of the area just like I am. He was also the only one that went to Tennessee A&I, and interestingly enough, I'm the only one in my family who did not go to TSU. I went to MTSU.
Really?
Yeah, class 2010, shouts to the Blue Raiders. But I'm true blue all the way through. So I have a special connection with Tennessee State. And so being, you know, connected with, out of that particular group, the only one who went to that school, you know, native to that school, and also he had an attitude that was kind of, that really reminded me of, you know, it was like, oh yeah, this dude, he didn't stand for it either.
Right.
So like, you know, I appreciated a guy like, you know, like Curtis Murphy. I appreciate, you know, what his role, his contribution. I looked him up last time I checked. I think he was like, he was still in Chicago. I think he
Teaching.
continued to teach, continued to fight the good fight. And so, I really appreciate being chosen for this type of role. It says a lot about, what y'all thought of me as a creator.
And you fit it. What about you with Gloria? Gloria was studying to be a doctor, and I know you went to CSU, but like she wasn't going. She was not the save me kind of girl.
She wouldn't, and I mean, I kind of feel like I don't be like, oh, come save me type anyway. But it was different though because she wasn't religious,
Right.
So that was just really different, like playing someone like that. But she didn't take no mess for nothing. She didn't back down. So it was just really, really like good to be able to like step into that role and like take that part, like
and that character and show.
Yeah.
What about with CT? Did you connect with that character coming into it?
Yeah, and I understand that Ahmad Rashad was cast first to do this role, and I was just filling in. But I do have, I former youth pastor. I don't know if y'all knew that. I used to be a. Oh wow, that y'all did not know. I'm a former youth pastor, so. And we probably have a connection in that way. I used to work with students and have like just whatever presence that you need to do that. So.
But he was ready to take on being in Mayor West at any given moment. It was kind of Lawson who had to bring him back in sometimes. He was not going there either.
Right. I learned a lot just as we did this. I learned a lot more each time about CT.
So most of us, and I included, are not actors. All of us here are MCs except for Greg, right? How hard was it for you to step out of MC? Because we spitting lyrics. It's not like we not rapping the lyrics in the story. But I remember the first time we shot the video, everybody was doing it.
Yeah, we was bobbing our head.
It was rapper hands.
It was rapper hands.
Rapper hands.
So like, okay, talk to me about that, Tran. Like, how was that?
It was super difficult because one, the beats were dope.
Right.
So we're listening to the beats the whole time, like, yo, we want to rap it. I want to do my verse over. And then it was also, I think a lot of us have performed a lot. And so that's just, what you do.
What we do. Yeah.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. And that's when the director has to step in and say, hey guys, this is not the hip hop concert. You're playing these people. So
the more we shot, it got, you guys got more into the character, and I saw development in everybody. I saw growth in everybody. So at the time that you guys got involved, me and AL-D had already written the lyrics. AL-D had made the beats, and we had sort of wrote these parts out for these different people. And one of our biggest concerns was like, are we gonna be able to get MCs to do this? What was that a challenge for you to write, to spit, and to sort of record a song that you didn't write?
So as an MC, I've always been one of those types who, I don't like rapping a lot of stuff that I didn't create. However, I also understand the importance of co-writing and also the value of performance. So
I'll say that if it wasn't you and AL-D, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's really what it is. And that's really what it boils down to.
That means a lot. That means a lot, because we were so worried about that.
It's definitely who asked us to do it more so than what we were asked to do. And what we were asked to do was, for me personally, felt very meaningful, super impactful. So it was like, sure.
And all of y'all went in the studio and did y'all? We had blocked out weeks to record. Everybody went in one day and was done.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. And see, it's also easier. It's easier to make an exception when you're doing something that means something. We're telling a story about our history, and it's and it's folks who are dope with the pen that's putting it together.
It was
So-
a dope cast. I was
Yeah,
like,
so
oh snap, they got everybody.
It almost felt like the work did itself.
Yeah, not for real. It was very organic.
That brings us to my next piece, though. You know, like they always say, too many MCs in one room is chaos, but we got some of the most talented MCs in Nashville together to do
sure.
this, you know.
100%.
So, like, what was that like for y'all? What was the vibe on set when you guys
We
first
was all
came in to do
homies.
it?
We all knew each other. We came in.
Right.
Exactly.
We was all homies already.
See, because really, too many dope MCs together, that's a cipher.
Every time,
Literally,
right?
literally.
so-
We all knew each other from ciphers and stuff.
We knew each other, and I felt like. What about you, Greg? Did you feel like, you know, the non-MC when you
Yeah.
came into the
Keep throwing around non-MCs like that. like I don't know them from the ciphers also. What are we talking about? No, I was able to go in and record, and rapping's easy. I don't know what y'all talking about.
Yeah.
I did my part. But
Rapping is easy, being a rapper is hard.
no, in all seriousness, I didn't write any of it, and so I wanted to do it justice with my performance, and I felt I still feel out of place a little bit when I listen to what I did versus what everyone else did.
You wasn't yourself then.
Yeah, well, with acting,
any of us?
you're supposed to, you do what you can to tell the story, and so that was what was most important to me versus, I don't sound like a rapper, or I need to redo this part so I can. So I tried to divorce myself from the performance.
But I
for
think
sake of the
that's
story.
what you brought, because your intensity, your facial expressions, the way you were using your words, it brought life to the character. But you were spitting them bars, so we were
And they
all,
can't even get a hamburger in town.
Right. So I'm going to talk to you, Rock, T.R.A.N, and Malcolm for our one scene, Jail No Bail. You guys wrote your own lyrics for that, and we did that on purpose because that's an emotional scene where you're talking about your true feelings while you're in jail. And for that scene, all the students had just got arrested. They had went to court. They decided not to pay the bail, and they were doing 30 days in jail. So, like, what was that for you, Rock, to give that, to explain how Gloria was feeling in that moment?
Well, my character, I feel like she was more so concerned about how her parents were going to feel.
Right, she was. And that was true.
She came from a place where she didn't really have to deal with racism as much. So, like, her being put in that position was just like, oh, what are they going to think?
And she was on her way to be a doctor.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so it's just like, what are my parents going to think? Like, so it was really, really cool to, like, get into that space and, like, put myself in that position. Like, what would I think if I was in her shoes?
What about you, T.R.A.N? Your character was not happy and
he was
bowing down.
I felt like a lot of it was, synonymous with my life because I was a college student. I spent time in jail, and I kind of drew from that experience from the like emotion standpoint, and then also, Jim Bevel was a spiritual person, and so there was that aspect too, and understanding that God's plan is a part of what was going on. So I mean, I thought that it was really easy for me to channel that energy, and I was excited to like showcase my pen. I knew Malcolm DeWayne was there. He writing his bars, so I know I gotta.
Yeah, we did that in like a session where we were all bouncing off each other. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Put ET on the spot because you played Mary Ben West. Now we all know you ET Soul. So how was it for you to play a character who you totally are not anything like and don't necessarily agree with his tactics and way of thinking?
Yeah, so I was aware of the project very early on, and I just expressed to Jan and AL-D, I just want to be a part. It doesn't matter, just find something for me. I want to contribute. I want to do something because, like everyone has said, this is one of those projects where it's a no-brainer. It's yes, I want to be a part of this. Yeah. It's a story that needs to be told. It's a story that can be told for generations. So of course I'm like, yes. And then there is that moment where I'm like, because I'm not from here, I don't know the history. I'm like, wait, did I just agree to play some crazy racist mayor? So of course I had to do some research as well, and And while I don't agree with most things from, Mayor Ben West, there were some things, he contributed to the desegregation of the airport. There was some leadership he provided for the desegregation of the public schools. So there were things he was trying to do. Now, was he trying to do that because he was a politician? Or was it what was really in his heart? So there were some things I could get behind. And then, of course, just working with, all of these other talented people just makes it really easy.
Oh, thank you.
So I just want everyone to go around and just kind of give me something like, what do you want the audience to take away from this premiere and when we show the video to everyone?
So main thing I want the audience to take away is, is a few things. I want them to take away, one, Nashville has been a progressive city when it comes to civil rights. I also want them to take away that this is what it looks like when you use hip hop with a purpose.
What about you, E.T.?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, because I've always said as a child I would have loved to have went and saw a production like this. But I think the story itself, you just asked everyone, could you have done that? And everyone likes to think that you would have done the right thing, but these people did it. These people were the ones that did it. So to just remember these people and what they put on the line for us to be able to do what we're doing right now, essentially. So I think that's what I'd like people to take away from the production.
Okay, what about you, Rock?
Just how much history is like here in Nashville. Like when you think about it, like the march, the sit-ins, like Big Saturday, how it like pretty much started a lot of stuff and just it kept the movement going. Like just being a part of that and like really just seeing how much as people when we come together, how much change we can actually like make. As a, like as a whole, like it's very impactful.
What about you, Tran?
They said like all the really good points, but
they did.
You're just
but I hope it inspires people. I hope it also inspires people to do more research, right?
Yeah.
So like, I hope they watch it and then they're like, oh man, I didn't know that happened. Let me Google real quick. Who's Curtis Murphy? Who's JusBam? You know what I'm saying? Oh, how and try to really, dive into the actual events that actually took place. So yeah, I hope it just alludes back to the, the original sit-ins and that these people who made these great sacrifices are remembered forever.
What about you, Steve? They took all the good ones?
Yeah, they did, and I learned. I would say this project inspired me because, in order to end segregation and discrimination, this is what these students and these people were willing to do, and it's like, well, what am I willing to do today to further it is.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on CultureVille, being on the mixtape. I'm so glad that we get to finally talk about it and share, and everyone gets to see it. And thanks for just being on the show today. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.